Hey guys, Sid from Sid's Trains here, and today we are going to be doing a recap on my trip to the York TCA train show in York, Pennsylvania. We are doing a recap on my trip to the York train show. It's been a week since the York train show. The York train show is held twice a year in October and in April in York, Pennsylvania at the fairgrounds, and it's held by the Eastern Division of the TCA, the Train Collectors Association. And there are dealer halls with people selling trains. There's halls with layouts. The National Capital Trackers have a big layout in one of the halls, a double crossover. That was cool. And there's also then the big orange hall, which has all the big manufacturers like MTH, Lionel, Atlas, Williams, Bachman, and lots of other brands and bigger dealers around the country, such as Train World in New York, and some other train stores from Pennsylvania like Henning's Trains. And that's what the show is about. It's about going around looking at the manufacturers, buying trains, and of course talking with friends. I've made a lot of friends over the past couple of years, and it's always fun to see people and talk about trains and of course buy trains. And today we're going to be looking at what I bought, and I'm going to talk about some of the things I saw as well. So starting out, I'll just start out with the layouts. The layouts were pretty cool. There were 3 layouts that I saw at the show. 2 were in the White Hall, which is both a dealer hall and a layout hall. One of the layouts was a American Flyer S-Gauge layout, and that was very cool. I don't do much with S-Gauge, but it's always cool to see that with the smoke and choo-choo of the American Flyer trains. The next layout was a more scale modular layout. It had some good scenery. They had some Lionel Legacy engines running around, and definitely I think I saw some MTH diesels running around. I think they were PS2. But that was cool to see. And then the other layout was the National Capital Trackers, as I said. Excuse me. But yes, the National Capital Trackers, they had a double crossover. One was just a crossover with an X like this, and then the other one was a over and under, which is cool. And they had some cool engines running. They had some MTH articulated steam engines and I think some Lionel diesels running, and that's always cool to see. Then in the orange hall with all the dealers, it was cool to see Lionel back at York. They had a cool display set up with the new Polar Express running around with a glossy paint job, and that was really cool to see. MTH was there as always. It was cool to see them in their display and see their Wi-Fi set up with DCS. And it was cool to see that. Atlas always has their cool display with their trains running up and down on a multi-level layout. And it was just cool to see all the other things. Dally Electronics is a very cool company. They make some pretty good sounds, some lighting features like light bulbs and LED lighting kits for passenger cars. They make a smoke puffer for your smoke units. They just have a lot of cool electronics, and I'm thinking about buying their turntable indexer for when I build my turntable for my layout. And it was cool to see them and their products and get to talk with them, because they actually did develop some or make some of the electronics in some of the 90s Lionel engines. The one that I do know they made it for was the brass Dreyfus, the Smithsonian Dreyfus, and that was cool to see that they made that. And of course, I see some of all the other businesses around in the Orange Hall, and it's always cool to talk with people about trains and what's going on in the industry. And I talked to this one gentleman who is the owner and operator of Roy's Trains, and it's cool to talk with him because he's in electronics. He upgrades electronics and engines, and I love doing that. And I bought some stuff from him, and I'll be showing you that in just a few minutes. Uh, and it was cool talking with him because I love doing TMCC upgrades and working with the electronics in my trains because it's just cool to tinker and all that. And then there was another company. There's another company from the Czech Republic, and they sell these cool European trains as well as these cool little tiny cars that run on the tracks. And my dad got one of those. We already had a Volkswagen bus truck, but now we got a Beetle. So I'll show you that in a minute. So then that's pretty much all I saw in the Orange Hall. And then the rest of it was just talking with people in the private dealer halls. These are private sellers selling their trains. There's just tables all over these halls full of trains. And it's just fun to talk with them. And I have a good friend, his name is Bob, and I always see him at the show. And I help him with his layout and selling some of his trains, which I actually just upgraded one of his trains, which was an MTH coal turbine. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that, and that's a train that I upgraded to Protosound 2 for him. But now I'm gonna go and show you the stuff that I got at the show, and I got some pretty cool stuff. So let's go take a look at it. So starting out with some of the smaller stuff and less expensive stuff. This first item here, my dad found this in one of the first halls we were in. This is a Lionel U.S. military missile car. It has a blue missile on it, and it's a nice a red flat car with U.S. military on the side. And this is kind of an interesting story because, for one, this cruise missile car is brand new in the box, which is very interesting. It still has the wrapping on the car. It might be hard to see that. But something that's interesting that the seller told us is that some of these came with decals on the side and some didn't. And the ones that didn't come with the decals are in the back of the box. And if I look closely in the back of the box, I can see the decals. And this is just a cool car that my dad picked up. And it's just neat. We probably won't take it out of the box as it's still new, and you kind of don't find this very often. But it's a cool car nonetheless. Let me move this out of the way now. I'll move this other item up here. This is a Lionel cleaning car. This is number 3927 cleaning car, and this does work. And it has everything. It has the 2 tubes of fluid. Obviously, the fluid's gone after all these years. There's the little pad on the bottom here, and then there's the dragging pad right here. And the car does operate. I lubed it up and got it running. And I actually already had one of these, except the one I had was missing parts, and it did run, but it was just missing parts. So I decided to get this one since it was at a low price, and now I have a Lionel cleaning car. And that's cool to have now, so let me move this out of the way. And move this little guy up here. Now this here is from that company that's from the Czech Republic. This is a little product they make. They make mostly they make 3-rail European trains that work on O-gauge track, and they're really nice. The quality is great, and they were running them on Atlas track, and it was all working really well. And they had some of them have sounds. It's not too complicated or anything, but they're good products. And they also make these little Volkswagens that do operate on the track. Here's the pickups, and then the wheels are for the ground. You can buy these with lights or no lights in a couple different colors. Some have E-units, some don't. This one is a cheaper one, so it doesn't have a E-unit, but it still is a nice car that I can run on the layout when I maybe have a street or something. And we actually already had one of these. We have a Volkswagen bus truck, but this is now a punch buggy that my dad wanted, so we got that. And it's really nice. Move this forward, and I'll now move these forward. This stuff right here is from Roy's Trains, as I stated before. He does upgrades on trains. He has TMCC, and he used to do proto sound upgrades, but now he doesn't. He just does command and control now. And he's also a electric railroad dealer, which is why this box right here has electric railroad on it. But starting out here, this is this I've actually taken some of the stuff out of this. But first off, I got two of these. These are old Train America Studios turbo smoke units. These are really nice. They're fan-driven smoke units that can be connected to the chuff switch, and then they puff with the chuff of the train. And I got two of these, and they both work. And I'll probably be using them in something at some point. But for now, I'm just leaving them in the bag. And the other stuff that used to be in this bag was a command control DC motor board. And what I decided to put that in something that I already had. And what I put it in was this. This is a Williams GG1 that I have. It's a Williams GG1 that I have. And I used to have command control that I added to it, but then for some reason the soundboard fried, which fried everything else in it, so I took it out and just set it on a shelf for about a year and a half. And now that I got the DC motor board that was in this, I just added command control. And at some point I will probably add sounds back to it. And this is a soundboard in here, but this is not a GG1 soundboard, so I'm not using that for this engine. But now my GG1 has command control, which is nice. Let me set this over here. This right here is actually a very neat product. This is a Train America Studios cruise board, which is and a soundboard all in one. Right here, it might be hard to see, but there's this little rectangular board that senses the flywheel with a tack tape on it, and that gives you cruise control. And this is from a articulated steam engine, so it has a articulated whistle. It's just an old Rail Sounds 4 setup, but it's a really nice product that I will probably be using in something in the future. Let me set this aside. Next, this is a QSI sound and E-unit setup. It's out of a third rail EM1 articulated steam engine, so that's kind of neat. And at the moment it's not working, but I think I can get it working, and maybe one day I'll install it in something if I ever need a sound and E-unit without command control, of course. This is not command control, this is Proto 1. And that's pretty much all I got from him. But it was some nice products that were relatively inexpensive compared to buying products straight from Electric Railroad if I wanted to add command control. Up next is this little box car here. The shelf for it is right here. And I saw this sitting in one of the halls on a table with a $15 price tag on it. And it was just really cheap, and I was just curious because there's this Lionel whistle relay here. And then there's this little board here, and then there's a speaker. And I was just, maybe it's a whistle or something. Maybe it's just a box car with a whistle sound. But when you flick this switch, that turns this on, and then when I activate the relay with my hand, it plays Christmas sounds.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, boys and girls! Merry Christmas! Be sure and be good. Hang up your stockings. Merry Christmas to one and all. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas to you and you!
And that was just kind of neat. It was kind of a surprise when I brought it home and turned it on. It played Christmas sounds because I didn't have a battery at the train show. But I just thought it was super cheap, so I just decided, why not just get it and see what it does. And that was kind of neat to get. And I'll move this out of the way. Now, this last item here is kind of an amazing find. Let me scooch it forward here. It's currently partially taken apart, but I'm slowly fixing it. This is a Lionel 1995-1996-9. This engine has Rail Sounds and TMCC, and it has the
GE demonstrator paint scheme on it. But what was amazing is that the gentleman said that only one of the motors was working, and he said he thought maybe a wire was disconnected and all, and it had a brand new battery for the sounds in it. And there were some scuffs on the paint, which is why I'm cleaning it, and I'm gonna probably repaint these bottom pieces. These are the truck side frames, just to let you know. That's why you can see the wheels right now. But he said it didn't work, or well, one of the motors worked, but the sounds worked and the front motor worked. So I went to test it, and of course the front motor was working and the sounds were working, and the back motor wasn't working. And it was only $40. So I decided, why not? So I brought it home, opened it up, and the only issue with the back motor was that it was just stuck from a bunch of grease and oil being stuck on the armature. So I cleaned that off, programmed it into my remote, and pressed the whistle button, and it started right up, and it runs with command control and rail sounds for only $40 and a little bit of cleaning. That's just an amazing find, and you'll probably never find a deal like that. $40 for a command control diesel with 2 motors, rail sounds, lights, all of the stuff from the 90s, all the 90s command control. It's an amazing find, and I'm glad that I bought this engine. So now let me move on to some more stuff that I got at the trade show. This here is a Kline Torpedo set. It includes the Torpedo engine and 8 passenger cars. I found this on a table in one of the halls, and it was actually a separate sale of items. But I asked the guy how much he would want for the 2, and he gave me a price, and I liked it. And I've seen this engine on eBay and at some stores before, and it's just a neat looking engine. The Torpedo has this cool bullet front to it, and also this Kline engine has the old Kline reel sounds, not rail sounds, but reel sounds, and they're kind of like finicky. It works, but they don't sound like super like realistic or anything, and they don't operate like extremely well compared to Lionel's rail sounds or MTH proto sounds. But it's a really cool engine, and it has like smoke. It has the light, backup light, the sounds, and it's a good engine. And then the passenger cars are also nice. They have interiors. There's no people, but they have interiors. They have these cool silhouette style windows that have little shades in them and stuff like that. There's 3 baggage cars, or 3 baggage type cars. One's a baggage car, one's a postal car, one's a combination car. There's 3 coach cars. There's another combination car, and then there's the observation car. And it's just a nice set, and looks really good running down the rails. And I will probably be reviewing this set at some point in the near future. So stay tuned for that. So now let's move on. Next is this Lionel Famous American Railroad set number 2. This is a Union Pacific freight set that includes the Union Pacific Berkshire in the front, a Union Pacific boxcar, a Union Pacific covered hopper, a Union Pacific reefer, a UP tank car, a UP trailer car, and then a UP bay window caboose. This set is from the early 80s, and it has the mighty sound of steam and electronic whistle, which I think is kind of cool. Most people don't think they're very cool and like realistic, but I just think they're kind of neat. It was kind of revolutionary for the time, and it has this cool glossy paint job to it. And I saw them on all the old TM books and videos, VHS tapes over the years, and I always thought it would be neat to have one of those sets. And I saw this engine at the show, and I decided it was at a good price, so I bought the engine. Then I was like, how would I try and find the cars? So my dad and I walked through the halls just looking for the cars themselves, and we found a gentleman that had all the cars, and we bought them as well. So now I have the entire set, and it looks really good. And I will be reviewing this set in the near future, so stay tuned for that. And as always, the tender had the degrading foam that held the board on the inside in place, so I replaced that, and I'll show you that in the review video. But it's a really nice set, and I'm glad that I got it. So now let's move on to the final item that I got
So
at York.
this is the final item that I got at the York Train Show. This is a MTH Protosound 2 Erie Triplex. This is a very big engine. Not as big as a big boy in length, but it's just a really wide and just big engine, mainly because there's the fact that there's 3 sets of drivers on this engine. There's a set in the front here, a set under the cab, and then another set under the tender. I will definitely be doing a review of this engine, and I will be showing all the cool features of this engine. And one thing I'll mention right now is that this was a Protosound 2 5-volt engine with the 5-volt Protosound board in it, and I kind of was expecting that to blow at some point. And of course, when I got it home and started running it, it then just overheated and blew up. So I decided, I kind of knew that was going to happen, and luckily I knew that I had a Protosound 2 3-volt board, so I could then just swap that in the battery into this, and then of course now it runs great, and I uploaded the sound file into it. And it sounds great, and you'll be seeing this run in just a few minutes. But this is the last thing I got at the train show, and I'm really glad that I got it. It's a very neat and just very different engine in my collection. I don't have anything that's like it in my collection, and it's not my first, but not my first Protosound 2 engine, but it's my first MTH Premier line Protosound 2 engine. I don't really have that much MTH stuff. I mainly have Lionel and some other companies, but I mainly collect Lionel. But this is kind of a slightly different engine for me, but it's still an amazing engine, and you'll be seeing it run in a few minutes. So now let me just wrap up a little, and then we'll see the stuff running around for a little. So that about wraps up my recap of my trip to the York Train Show. I had a great time, met some great people, talked a lot about trains, and bought some pretty cool stuff. I will be doing those reviews, as I said before, so stay tuned for those. And I recommend anybody that lives on the East Coast, or pretty much anywhere in the United States, to definitely think about coming to the York Train Show in York, Pennsylvania, whether it's in April or October. I definitely recommend it, as it's a good place to see some trains running, lots of variety in the industry, and talk to the people that are basically running the industry of O-gauge model railroading. So that about wraps it up, and as always, like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications, comment below, and tell others about the channel. I'm Sid, and I'll see you next time, guys.